So let's talk about some considerations that should be made if you're having difficulty connecting your generation loss to a MIDI controller or MIDI in general. So I have sort of a basic setup here. I have both a MIDI controller, in this case an MKII, and an Electron Digitact, both going into a MIDI merger. That's what each of these are up here. Both of these going into the MIDI merger, and then a single cable coming out of the MIDI merger, which would normally go to like a MIDI box. But in this case, I have a MIDI monitor just so that we can see what we're sending the pedal here. And if we were to run the Digitact, you'd see MIDI start, MIDI stop. So both of those things are running through into the generation loss. This allows us to have total MIDI control over the gen loss, while at the same time have it sync up nicely to the beats that are coming out of our Electron Digitact. So let's say you just got your generation loss and you've used it in a situation like this with other chaseless pedals, or maybe this is your first chaseless pedal and you're just trying to integrate it into your MIDI setup. So you pop it in, get it all connected, everything's working fine. We have program changes affecting the generation loss, and you can see it over here. So this is telling us channel 2 and it's program change 10. So let's say this is working great for you, but you need your generation loss on a different channel. Let's just say channel 6. So obviously when I press 6, it's showing up here, but it's not affecting the pedal, obviously, because the pedal is not on channel 6. So we go through the normal procedure, and now we're going to assign it to channel 6. So we go to do that, and even though it's coming through here, it's not doing anything on the pedal. So we're like, okay, is it still on channel 2? No, channel 2 is not working anymore either. So we're thinking, okay, let's just like power cycle the pedal, start from scratch essentially. But now channel 2 isn't working either. And any attempt to reassign it to any channel proves to be fruitless. So now let's say, okay, let's just go back to channel 2. So see, that doesn't work either. It's a big old nope. All right, what do we do? Well, in this case, you would have sent me an email and I'd say, well, this looks like all the normal stuff. And I'm kind of scratching my head. You can even put another Chase Bliss pedal here and it works fine in this setup. But with the Generation Loss Mark II, which we redesigned from the ground up, there is one little stipulation here that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to either turn off or unplug MIDI clock going into the pedal. So obviously our Electron Digitact is sending MIDI clock going into the pedal. So let me just disconnect that. I could just turn it off too, but I'm going to disconnect it so you can visually see that. And now, when we go through the same procedure, let's just go back to channel 2. Everything's working fine. And now we can go to our desired, what was it, channel 6? Working just fine. And now, at this point, we can plug our MIDI sync back in. You just have to have MIDI clock not going to the pedal while you're assigning the MIDI channel. And then nope turns into a big old yep. So it's a pretty simple step. Some of you may be running into a similar situation and you don't have like an Electron Digitact. Maybe you're just running a MIDI controller into a MIDI box into your pedal and getting a similar situation. In that case, you'll just have to disable MIDI clock from your controller. But just go into the menu, disable MIDI clock, and you should be up and running. I just want to show one more little thing. It's not exactly related to this setup, but it is relating to setting the MIDI clock on your gen loss, and it is one little goofy thing you can run into sometimes. So when we press both sides, we get the hidden functions, and sometimes you can come into that state on a power cycle when you press and hold and do the power cycle. Let me see if I can get it. It actually doesn't pop up very often, but watch. Probably happened on the first one. Yeah. That's the way it goes. Anyway, from this, if you see green, green, and now you're going to set the MIDI channel, it puts the pedal into a weird state. Let me just disconnect MIDI clock again. So if I attempt to do that, you're going to see it's almost like as if it saved a preset because the middle LED will blink 3 times. Here, it's not even going to do anything. Let me try this again. I think it's because I was connected to MIDI clock. Okay, now at this point, when I try to set the MIDI channel, see that middle LED will blink a few times? That's not what we want. It's doing something weird. And now we try to use the pedal and it just doesn't, even if we power cycle, it doesn't quite want to do the right thing. It's a little hard to demonstrate because the pedal gets in kind of a weird state, but just make sure when you power cycle, you have anything other than green, green. So here we have red, red, that's okay. Red on one side is okay. There's red, red again. Nothing is okay. At this point, we can go ahead and assign that MIDI channel. Okay, this should get you up and running if you're having any MIDI issues with your GenLoss Mark II. If you run into anything else or have any questions about what you've seen here, by all means, shoot me an email, paul@chasebliss.com. Thanks a lot for watching and thanks for your patience.